This is our last sort of quiet summer Shabbat, so I wanted to take some time to have a bit of a discussion because next week is Eliana Kirshen's Bar Mitzvah. Eliana, do you know what today is? Today's actually Eliana's Hebrew birthday, so happy birthday. 2 Shabbat birthdays, and next week's her Bar Mitzvah. Now I've sufficiently embarrassed you. I wanted to talk a little bit about kashrut, which is one of the 2 or 3 times that it's mentioned in the Torah, is this week. So I want to start us off by asking you a question and asking you to go into your little chavrutas. If you're meeting somebody new, please make sure to introduce yourself. If you have the opportunity to meet somebody new, maybe take that opportunity before talking to your familiar person. So my question for you is, when you think about our dietary laws or kashrut, what comes to mind first? Some options are health, holiness, tradition, or you can tell me something else that comes to mind. So when you think of kashrut or dietary laws, what comes to mind first? Have fun. Okay, so let's get some ideas. What comes to mind first when you think of kashrut? All right, Bible teacher Barnett. Expensive. All right. Nice. What else comes to mind? Anyone? I heard a lot of conversing, so there's more that comes to mind other than expensive. Yeah. Unifying or divisive? We'll talk about that. Yeah. Yes, Rachel. First regulation of our ingestion before the FDA. Nice. Miles. Active, intentional choice to uphold our Jewish values. Yeah, Cynthia. Is it a connection to our past or a separation from other people? Yeah, Larry. Efficient use of the food chain. That's interesting. Say a little bit more. I just learned some very interesting things, but I can't repeat the math, so you have a new friend to talk to at Kiddush if you didn't fully hear. Yeah, Chazan, and then we'll go on. Yeah. Oh, historically a barrier against intermarriage. Couldn't eat if you were invited to your friend's house. I have a very funny story from rabbinical school, which is that a classmate of mine was dating somebody who was Jewish, but maybe not as observant as her. And so she came to our kashrut class one day, and she was like, my partner used the wrong knife on the wrong cutting board. Should I break up with him because he cut an onion, which is a specific thing, a specific part of kashrut, on the cutting board? And I'm sorry to put you on the spot, Miles, but I said, if I broke up with my partner for every time that he used the wrong wrong knife on the wrong cutting board, we would be in a very different place today. But I think that goes to say that even within don't worry, our house is fully kosher. But even within our own people, that we have different ways of being able to observe these laws. Yeah, Mindy. Thoughtful about something in my Judaism. Okay, nice. When you limit your diet in a certain way, like if you become pescatarian, you're limiting your diet even more by choosing to be kosher. One of the most beautiful things I find about kashrut, which again is a machloket in my house, which is that I always grew up eating in vegetarian, in non-kosher restaurants, but only eating vegetarian. And I always thought that it was a beautiful thing that I could look at a menu and say that these are the things I can eat and these are the things that I can't eat. And that is sort of separating me in my own way, and it's such a prevalent sort of, I think about it, but I also don't think about it. And then Miles, I'm really putting you on the spot here, it's like, but I want to be able to eat everything from a menu, so he loves vegan restaurants, and I love to be able to choose from different parts of the menu. Okay, so I'm going to read some of the categories that we get in our Torah portion, and the question that I have for you is, what values is the Torah trying to espouse by creating these categories for us? So this is from Deuteronomy chapter 14, verses 3-6. You shall not eat any abominable thing. These are the beasts which you may eat, the ox, the sheep, and the goat, the hart, and the gazelle, and the roebuck, and the wild goat, I don't know how to pronounce this one, and the pygarg, and the antelope, and the mountain sheep. And every beast that parts the hoof and has the hoof wholly cloven in two, and choose the cud among the beasts that you may eat. Maybe Larry already answered this question for us a little bit, but maybe in layman's term, what, if any, values is the Torah trying to espouse upon us when it's saying, maybe the first sentence is the easiest, you shall not eat any abominable thing. Okay, go back to your chavrutas, maybe a different person. What values is the Torah trying to teach us? I see some people without chavrutas. You can scoot a little bit. All right, Sandy. Wait, 1 second. Let's. I know this chavruta time was shorter, but you have Kiddush too, Sandy. If you're a vegetarian or a vegan, kashrut sort of disappeared. We're learning a lot about the documentary hypothesis today. I think when Rabbi Witkowski spoke, we also spoke about two different authors of the Torah. But yes, in one version, or more, in one version of the creation story, we are vegetarian, and so that would maybe make all these laws superfluous. Yeah. Dr. White is an environmentalist here, saying that if you keep vegetarian, which is maybe are you vegetarian? Which is maybe the optimal way to live in our world, that then you have these laws that will restrict. I'll get you in a second, David, but I think that, Sandy, you're getting a little bit to what one of the commentators, Abarbanel, says, which is that each one of these categories is actual spiritual qualities of ourselves, and so we're able to glean some sort of spiritual meaning from being able to do things and not being able to do things. David. So the Torah uses this word of toeva, of an abominable or a disgusting thing. Rashi says that we don't want to eat something that's inherently disgusting, so that whether we think that these things are disgusting or not, we don't want to eat something that's inherently bad. Okay, we'll take one more comment here. Yeah, Marcia. Okay, nice. Learning discipline through abstinence. That's sort of like why I like to look at a menu and only pick out the vegetarian things. Yeah. Okay, so, but you actually move us perfectly into the next verse that I'm going to read to you, which is from chapter 14, verse 21, that develops a sort of paradox that we'll tease out a little bit. You shall not eat anything that dies of itself. You may give it to the stranger that is within your gates, that he may eat it, or you may sell it to a foreigner, for you are a holy people to God. You shall not, and then we get, you shall not cook a kid in its mother's milk. So there's a tension here, which is that God is sort of saying these are universal rules of how we eat, but at the same time, you are separate from people, and so you can actually give the non-kosher part of your cow to the non-Jew within your midst. So this poses the question, is kashrut about health? Is it about universal morality? And why are we separating ourselves? Which is a more theological question. But maybe I'll make you talk about it for 1 minute. Is kashrut about health and universal morality if we are separating ourselves? The silence in the room is giving me that this question was much harder. All right, Perry. Yeah. We're on a quest for holiness, and we're all sort of on a quest for holiness in different ways, depending on your dietary restrictions. This was really interesting. We went to Morocco on our honeymoon, and I highly recommend going to Morocco, but I highly recommend going on an only kosher trip if those are your dietary restrictions, because nobody in the whole country understood what it meant that you would eat a meal without meat. Like there was absolutely, it was not within their lexicon that you would eat a meal that did not have meat with your couscous and your vegetables. And it was challenging, but maybe I should have said I'm Buddhist, and then I would have gotten it. So I want to wrap up. We have the last sentence that I presented in the last set of verses was, "You shall not cook a kid in its mother's milk." And the commentators sort of say to us that this is training us in a quality of compassion, because it turns up 3 times in the Torah. Rashi says that it turns out 3 times, once for eating, once for cooking, once for deriving benefit. Rashbam says that this was a pagan ritual practice, so we're separating ourselves from idolatrous customs. We also get some that mixing meat and milk creates some sort of spiritual confusion, so we're staying spiritually focused if we're not eating meat and milk. I'd be curious to hear what you thought about that one. So just some interesting notes on not mixing milk and meat. And finally, I wanted to bring in a little bit of what Mary Douglas says, who by the way, Mary Douglas says that all religions are based on 6 core things, and those 6 core things are the seders of the Mishnah. So I'm not going to be able to name all of them, but you're going to help me out. Damages, blessing, Nezikin, and then we have Seder Moed, which is holidays, and then we have seeds, Ra'im, which is seeds, so Brachot and Kashrut, great, so foundations. What else do we have? Kiddushin, so marriage and holy relationships. I didn't write these down, so that's why I'm not prepared for this. There are 2 more starim of the Mishnah, which would also go in with how a agricultural society functions. And she says about kashrut, or dietary rules in general, that dietary rules encode a people's understanding of what is proper, what belongs, and what is out of place. They're a map of social boundaries made edible, which I really resonate with. And so I hope throughout this conversation that we have elucidated a little bit that there's not one simple explanation for kashrut. We have these weaving together of themes of holiness, of compassion, of distinctiveness, and we also eat multiple times a day, so it's complex enough to carry multiple meanings. So it's not the question of, is this about health or holiness or identity, but sort of how do we combine all of these dimensions together to create a body of law that really helps us balance different parts of our Judaism. Thank you for learning with me. That was fun for me. I hope it was for you. We turn to page 180.